knew that about me. And so when I made that phone call, I said, just give me a year. I get this, the school is telling me that I can take a leave of absence for a year and come back. So let's see if I can become successful in this year. And if not, then I'll come back to school. And he had the 2 really tough years of waking up and having no one to talk to and nothing to do. And he would wake up and cry. He'd be like, I worked my whole life to have that job. And now I'm a loser here who like can't get a job.
Sun is coming up, are you ready to go? We can take a ride, we can take it slow. Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the show, Pia. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. When you first signed on, you were like, hi. And I was like, oh, mom voice. I love mom voice.
That's actually more my that's like my sexy girl voice.
Oh, sexy girl mom.
Hi. Yeah. Really trying to pretend like I haven't become a mother.
Hey, listen, same here. So thank you so much for joining me on the show. You know, the first thing that I really love to ask all my guests is, you know, my personal definition of self-love is the devotion to your individuality. You know, what makes you you? And I'd love to know, who are you? What makes you you? And how do you want the people to know you?
I think it's like the first thing that came to my head, as you said that is that I'm loud. And I don't mean that in like, you know, that always can come off as like very obnoxious, but I've always been, since I was very little, like I had a flashback to being in preschool and just being the exact same person that I am now. So I'm just kind of like a bull in a china shop, which I don't mind, which I love. Like I'm just loud and I'm very much like my parents' child.
That's really, really beautiful. And what I like about how you want to be known is it's not like this like grandiose, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. You're just like, I'm loud and I have an opinion and I want to share it.
I just so like beautiful. Talking to people. I would when I was little, I would walk around like so little. I started talking at 6 months, which is insane because I have a 2-month-old and I'm like, my mom was like, it was visually really confusing because you were talking, but you looked like you were a baby. And I would say, hi, man. Hi, woman. I love you at the store.
I love that. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So, you know, as I did my research on you and just dove deep into your world, you have a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, period. And I also have a lot of things going on. And you know, what I love about the show is it really gives people permission to look at themselves a different way. You know, for example, like a lot of us were told as children that you have to choose one thing and you got to do it really, really well. But you have a clothing brand and you import Italian goods and you also are a mom and you have a podcast. You have so many things going on. How do you manage all of that?
Not very well. And I'm trying to figure that out. I can do I think like the overarching characteristic that really makes all of this work is I don't overthink things. I make very quick decisions and I do things very quickly. And I don't go like, oh, should have done. The only thing that I do that with is the illustrations that I'm doing for the dinnerware that we're making in Italy, because I have very high aesthetic expectations that I don't think I'm meeting for myself.
I love that. What I see in you is that you own that and you use it to your advantage, which is really cool. So first of all, like the fact that you have a clothing line, it's just like so cool. You're like the coolest person I know. And you're like, well, you don't really know many people then, Paul. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm like, as I sit here in like a Zara button down with workout clothes on.
Listen, it's totally fine. Tell me about, you know, getting into that business and your journey to that, because I find it very interesting. I used to work in the luxury retail industry and I think it's so cool.
Well, I think that something obviously happened like 10 years ago. Well, it's probably, I worked for Reformation, so I hate comparing it to fast fashion, but you know, clothing being available at a lesser price point for the masses, but clothes that were like cute and accessible to a lot of people started happening like when I was in college. So, but the interesting thing is like, I knew that I was never going to be someone who was going to like drape for hours on a form and make these like really fancy things because I didn't grow up wealthy. So that, and not that it's like a completely wealthy thing, because I know lots of people who grew up not wealthy at all are still incredible designers. But to me, that world felt like really, I mean, I grew up very nicely, of course. Geez, I grew up with like extreme privilege, but I didn't like, my mom never bought like I still like, one of my favorite stores is TJ Maxx because you can just get things like discounted, like, you know what I mean? So I was very like, I didn't want things that were super luxury. So I definitely wanted things that were very like easy and at like a nice price point. So when I was applying to colleges and I ended up going to Parsons, the fashion program there was so competitive and for the extremely talented. And I did not have that kind of talent. So I was in the design and management program, which was like product development and marketing and advertising. And that is where I like completely thrived. And so I did start building up my portfolio and getting lots of jobs. And I landed but the job that really got me into design was working at Reformation. And I started there doing PR. And then I started doing styling and marketing and putting together the events and helping with the photo shoots and helping with like the design concepts. And really like I learned so much about who this girl was and what she wanted to wear. And because my weight had fluctuated so much, I was very clear about what was flattering on my body and like what wasn't. And so the owner of the company at the time was like really, you know, keeping a close eye on all her employees. And she was like, you really know what women want to wear. And that's how I got into design, was not through the technicality of it, but more so like I knew how a dress should look. I just didn't know how to like technically get it there.
So, you know, as I was saying, I'm really interested to understand like that journey, like of telling someone that you love that you are going to change paths, because a lot of people listen to this show are on that redefining their lives. And I think it'd be really helpful for them.
Well, I'm the youngest of 5. So I think I hit the jackpot in terms of just being the last one.
Great.
And parents having a little bit more leniency for that last child, because, you know, like my dad, like when my brother quit football, my dad like kicked him out of the house until he rejoined the team. Like there was not a lot of push and pull with those other kids. It was very much push. So, and they're all much better off for it. So for me, I was also a really bad at school. Not bad at school. It was really a challenge for me, a huge challenge for me. And I would, you know, my parents saw me study really, really hard and work really, really hard to be like a very average student. But I thrived in all my extracurriculars.
So taking all of the things that you learned about, you know, being a child of what sounds like pretty great parents, like how are
my
you
parents are wonderful
navigating being a new mom now?
I mean, I live in my childhood home with my mom helping me.
Great.
I mean, yeah, I think we're very, like, my husband and I are constantly talking about how we were raised, like defining moments, things that we liked about our childhood, things that we would do differently. And I think the main key is like extreme amounts of communication and like not a lot of assumption.
That's so beautiful. Is there anything that you find has been like you haven't seen the same, like you haven't wanted to parent the same way? Like, have you kind of like butt heads on anything?
Not yet. Like we're really aligned with, I mean, first of all, she can't do, she's a nothing. She's 7 weeks old. So like what I do see happening with him is like, which is so funny, like the dad role. And I don't mean to be like gender specific, but I can work from home, so he leaves. He has a store, so he's gone all day.
Well, I mean, you said it, but what do you think if someone's listening to this who's like on the other end, like they're looking for their relationship, they define themselves by the person they're with and get the big ring on their finger, like what would you want to say to them?
I mean, we talk about it all the time on my podcast because I have him on to do these Q&As with us, and everyone's like, we went on 3 dates and then he didn't call me back and now I feel like he's ghosting me and like, what do I do? And I'm like, stop caring. Like, why are you putting value on yourself by having someone text you back or take you out on another date? Like, I don't even think you know if you like this person. You just don't like that you feel rejected by them. Yeah. And I think like switching up that approach to being like, I'm happy with myself. Like, I'm cruising. Like, are you an added value in my life? I think that's the narrative that should be in everyone's head.
How do we fix this? Because I'm currently, as we speak, going viral on TikTok, talking about why women, or not necessarily women, but why you attract fuckboys. And it's like, and there's so many people being like, you're wrong, or why are you calling me out like this? You know, saying things like, you know, you don't think you're ready for a real relationship and stuff like that. Like, how do we fix this epidemic of emotionally unavailable people taking advantage of people who don't think that they're good enough?
I think it's a weird thing. Like, now, I think like the rise of entrepreneurship and like all these amazing, you know, now we know, unfortunately, between like 25 and like 35, you can start a business and become a millionaire or become like very famous on Instagram. Like, we're so career driven, and then the work with relationship stuff like sometimes can get put on the back burner. And then it's like, oh wait, like along with this goal of being successful by this age, I also wanted a relationship, and now you're trying to rush something. And like, that's personally what I keep seeing is like so much focus on career things, which are obviously incredible and shouldn't take a back burner either, but you're like forgetting to like take time to figure out who you really are, be able to like sit with yourself, like all those kinds of, you know, important self-love moments kind of go out the door. And then all of a sudden it's like, shit, now I'm single. Oh shit. Especially for women specifically, they feel like they have a clock because they want to have a child. And then this whole process gets like really, really rushed. So I don't know. I really think having hard boundaries when it comes to work and then personal life. So you're just as confident in your work as you are with like who you are as a human.
So I feel like I could talk to you forever, and you know, we're the best of friends, but I just have a couple of more questions for you. And something that I ask everyone who comes on the show, and I'm curious, is what does self-love mean to you?
Right now, it's very interesting having that question be asked as a new mom, because, you know, I'm 50 pounds overweight and nothing, like literally nothing fits me. I'm wearing the same like 8 things over and over again. And it's been 7 weeks, you know, and it obviously, I weighed myself yesterday. I weigh the same I weighed when I walked out of the hospital after having her, which doesn't matter. And none of it matters because I have a beautiful, healthy child downstairs. But I definitely think that people have like aesthetic expectation for themselves, or they're just like used to looking a certain way, you know, my entire adult life. And now that's kind of gone out the door. So I'm like, self-love for me right now is, and it's been really hard and I haven't been able to do it, but I'm going to do it today, is going on a walk, moving my body, and really trying as hard as I can to not talk badly about my body right now. I had a mom DM me yesterday and saying she was 11 weeks pregnant and is looking in the mirror and crying. And I'm like, oh God, like we just put too much pressure on ourselves, you know? And so it is this loss. You almost feel like this loss of your freedom. Like, you know, it's not like, oh my God, like I'm not, like my body's gross. It's more so like I don't have access to the time that I used to have to be able to go on a run, or, you know, take that time for myself to even do the thing that makes me feel good about that. You know what I mean? To offset that feeling. That there's like a lot of loss of control. So it comes down to like, allowing myself to have, putting that time in my schedule for myself and then changing my negative thoughts.
I love that. And I think that's really, really important. Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing that. It's really, really beautiful.
Of course.
Pia, this has been such a joy, such an amazing conversation. Where can people find you?
At Pia Baroncini on Instagram. And then there's like 5 Instagram accounts that I run, and they're all linked on there.
I'm just so grateful for your time, and congratulations on the new baby and
Thank you,
everything
Paul.
that you're doing. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.